All Hamas terrorists, from the first to the last, are dead men walking. They have only two possibilities: surrender or die.
This was Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in December, 2 months after the surprise assault by Hamas's military wing Al-Qassam brigades on Israel killed around 1,200 people. Now, cut to June 2024. After 8 months of war and over 37,000 deaths in Gaza, the Israeli military makes this big admission.
Hamas is an idea. Whoever thinks we can eliminate Hamas is wrong.
This statement by the main spokesperson for the Israeli Defense Forces, or IDF, appears to contradict Israeli government's stated aim of the months-long war in the besieged territory of Gaza, even as Netanyahu continues to reiterate that his forces are going to eliminate Hamas irrespective of a ceasefire deal.
If there is an agreement, it will be an agreement according to our terms. And our terms are not to end the war, to leave Gaza and leave Hamas as it is. I refuse to leave Hamas as it is. We need to eliminate it.
In the interview with Israeli media outlet Channel 14, Netanyahu also claimed that the phase of intense fighting against Hamas in the Gaza Strip was coming to an end.
The end of the phase of intense fighting?
Yes. Is it up to a month?
Very soon.
The confusing narrative from within the Israeli establishment begs the question: what has Israel achieved after months of war? How close or far is it to achieving its top goal? And most importantly, can Tel Aviv defeat Hamas? Israel defines its war goals as taking away not just the military capabilities of Hamas and destroying the leadership of the Palestinian armed group, but also its governing capacity, so as to remove it from the position of power in the Gaza Strip. However, apart from claiming to have killed a few top-ranking Hamas commanders and destroying a few kilometers of tunnel allegedly belonging to the armed group, Israel hasn't been able to do significant damage to the Palestinian armed group. On 29th December, IDF spokesman Major Doron Spielman told Sky News Australia that 8,000 Hamas fighters had been killed, saying the figure was based on intelligence, something the resistance group denies. In mid-January, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu claimed Israel had destroyed 2/3 of Hamas fighting regiments in Gaza. In February, the Israeli military said it killed 10,000 Hamas fighters, out of the group's supposed total strength of 30,000, in airstrikes and ground operations. On 19th February, the Times of Israel reported the IDF as saying 12,000 fighters had been killed. According to a report by a United States media outlet citing intelligence estimates from Washington, only about 1/3 of the fighters from Hamas's armed wing have been killed by Israel, while the majority of the group's extensive tunnel network remains intact. The Politico report published last month says that as per US intelligence, although Hamas's communications and military abilities have been degraded, only 30 to 35% of its fighters, those who were a part of Hamas before the October 7th attack, have been killed, and about 65% of its tunnels are still intact. Washington, a staunch ally of Israel which has militarily, diplomatically, and financially backed Tel Aviv amid the war in Gaza, has been increasingly concerned that Hamas has been able to recruit during wartime thousands over the last several months, allowing it to withstand months of Israeli offensives, according to a person familiar with the intelligence quoted in the US media report. A few days ago, General C.Q. Brown, who is the chair of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and the principal military advisor to the US president, criticized Israel for failing to prevent Hamas's return to prominence in areas where the Israeli army had operated. In May 2024, US Deputy Secretary of State Kurt Campbell said that a total victory for Israel is not likely or possible in this war, adding that Tel Aviv is struggling over what the theory of victory is in Gaza. Earlier, John Kirby, the White House National Security Communications Advisor, questioned Israel's capability of destroying Hamas and its ideology.
Are you going to eliminate the ideology? No. And are you likely going to erase the group from existence? Probably not.
There are concerns about whether Israel has been able to separate fighters from ordinary civilians in the densely populated strip of land. In December 2023, the IDF described an assessment that it was killing 2 civilians for every Hamas fighter as tremendously positive, given the challenges it faced on the battlefield. The same month, Biden said that Israel had the support of the world as well as the US, but they're starting to lose that support by the indiscriminate bombing that takes place. Hamas does not provide any figures for its military fatalities. The Reuters news agency reported that an official had admitted 6,000 fighters had been killed, but Hamas denied this figure to the BBC. The death toll coming from Gaza, provided by Hamas-run health ministry, which has previously been described as trustworthy by the World Health Organization, doesn't distinguish between civilians and combatants. According to the Gaza authorities' last demographic breakdown from February 29th, more than 70% of those killed had been women and children. This means that less than 30% of those killed were men, some of whom could have been over fighting age. Considering these figures, experts consulted by the BBC Verify team have raised doubts and questions about Israel's way or methodology to arrive at its claim of 10,000 fighters killed. The British media giant reviewed all 280 videos posted to the Israeli Army's YouTube channel from October 7th to February 27th and found that very few contained visual evidence of fighters being killed. Of all 280 videos, the team could only find one that purports to show the bodies of Palestinian fighters. Another concern regarding the reliability of Israel's claims is that some experts believe the army might be counting government administration workers as fighters, simply because they are associated with the Hamas political wing, which has been ruling Gaza since 2007. Apart from challenging Israel on the battlefield, Hamas is giving a tough fight in the area of perception as well. Experts have also pointed out how Israel is faltering in the war of narratives, moral standing, and international legitimacy. Sir Tom Phillips, a former British diplomat who served as ambassador to Israel and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, said in April that Hamas had survived the IDF onslaught for longer than any war Israel has ever fought, and in doing so they have thoroughly dented Israel's much vaunted deterrent status. In brief, and with daunting potential long-term consequences for Israel, the IDF no longer looks invincible. A final victory for Hamas, Philip noted in an Israel newspaper, is the head-spinning speed of Israel's post-October 7 delegitimization in the eyes of many in the world. Israel was dragged to the International Court of Justice by South Africa and several other countries which have accused Tel Aviv of committing genocide and atrocities in Gaza.
The commitment to justice and bring an end to the humanitarian atrocities in Palestine resonate deeply with the collective consciousness of the global community. The scale of these actions is reminiscent of the Rwandan genocide 30 years ago. We are here on behalf of South Africa and the global community to seek justice for the victims, particularly children, women, and the elderly. We believe that without the intervention of this court, of the international community, we will see the total destruction of the Palestinian people in Gaza.
Last month, Karim Khan, the chief prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, announced he is seeking arrest warrants for Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu, Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, and 3 leaders of Hamas, Yahya Sinwar, Ismail Haniyeh, and Mohammed Daif. The charges against Netanyahu and Gallant include starvation of civilians, extermination and intentionally directing attacks against a civilian population, among other crimes. And the charges against the Hamas leaders include extermination, murder, taking hostages and rape, among other crimes. In broader political terms, experts see this as a move that places Israel in the dock and indicts the country's leaders as war criminals along with Hamas leaders. Netanyahu condemned Khan's decision as outrageous.
The outrageous decision by the ICC prosecutor, Karim Khan, to seek arrest warrants against the democratically elected leaders of Israel is a moral outrage of historic proportion.
In addition to facing legal challenges, Israel has also lost diplomatic ties with many nations. And several countries, over the past few months, announced the recognition of Palestine as a sovereign state. This is a historic day, the signing of the decision to recognize the state of Palestine that the Spanish government has adopted together with Ireland and Norway, and which Slovenia approved on May 30th, has the same objective to help Israelis and Palestinians reach peace, with the latest one being Armenia, as Israel's war in Gaza has revived a global push for Palestinians to be given a state of their own, in a major blow to Israel which sees it as a reward for terror.
The intention of several European countries to recognize a Palestinian state is a reward for terror. 80% of Palestinians in Judea and Samaria support the terrible massacre of October 7th. We cannot give this evil a state. It will be a terrorist state. It will try to commit the October 7th massacre again and again, and we will not accept that. A reward for terror will not bring peace, nor will it stop us from defeating Hamas.
Now, 146 out of the 193 United Nations member states recognize a Palestinian state. Meanwhile, thousands of students across campuses in the world have been protesting, demanding a ceasefire in Gaza, divestment from Israel, and independence of Palestinian territories which have been, as per the United Nations, under illegal Israeli occupation since 1967.
All the students across the country are united for divestment. There are many people in this camp who have family members back in Gaza who have been killed. We are here, people try to say this is violent, we are here out of love. We are here out of hope for a better future, and we are here because we want not just a ceasefire, but freedom for every single Palestinian.
As Netanyahu vows to continue the war in Gaza, not only does Israel risk becoming a pariah state, even among its allies, but it is also likely to fuel a generation of radical opposition from within the population it is targeting.